Hello, Tiffin. Welcome to Tiffin Talk. This is episode 4. I am Mayor Tim Kasperick, and as always, my trusty sidekick, councilperson, Tim Morris, also Mayor Pro Tem.
Hey, I'm glad to be here this morning. For an retired guy, it's a little early, but I'm glad to be here because I like to be part of these.
Well, Tim, I like you being here
Back
because
to you,
if
Mayor.
you weren't here, then I would have to talk the whole time if you weren't here, and so you have to be here. It's required.
But wait a minute, you pretty much talked the whole time anyway, Tim. So I'm just here along for the ride.
Oh, that's a fair point. That's fair. I'll take it.
Did I say that with my outside voice? Oh, crud. All right.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Apologize to the listening world. There has been a little bit of a gap. If you were feeling a gap between episode 3 and 4, yes. We all live very busy lives and have regular things happening. So sometimes life just gets in the way. Because I think, Tim, you in that amount of time, you took, I think, 2 or 3 trips to Tim, I think between episode 3 and episode 4, I mean, you've taken 2 or 3 trips, you and the wife, out doing wine tasting probably every other week.
Yeah, I keep busy with the local wine company, and actually I'll be doing one next week at the new Parkside Liquors. But anyway,
awesome.
that and took a little vacation from retirement. Got a little sand and sun.
That's awesome. Well, hey, on episode 4, I'm pretty excited for this interview that we've got coming up today. We'll be talking to building official Brian Shay. Man, we recorded that, and I think there's just so much good information.
Really, it's going to be well worth listening to if you're going to do anything to your property, especially if you want to do it yourself. It's well worth listening to because Brian gives out a lot of information.
Yeah. I mean, things to expect. He's going to talk about when you actually need permits, common do-it-yourself mistakes, which I think are amazing and sometimes hilarious. And then zoning stuff. But Brian's not shy about talking, so there is a ton of good information in.
Yes. That is exactly true. But everything he says is quality stuff. Those are the problem. So you want to listen to it as much as possible.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it that the interview gets a little bit long, and we want to keep the podcast overall. We try to shoot for about an hour, so we're going to keep this portion of the show a little bit light this morning. So anyway, let's just do kind of a round robin of projects in the city. I think, I've put it in the monthly newsletter the last couple of months. There's just so much happening right now. So maybe we just do a round robin of things going on. And again, we want to keep this kind of short. And so maybe we just start up in the northeast corner, Forever Green project.
Yep. It's on like Donkey Kong, as they say. I haven't been up there because I've been gone for a while.
I don't know that people say that anymore, Tim.
Well, if you see me out in public, you'll know why I say that, because I sort of have a lot of snow on the roof. So I think that was actually when my kids were growing up too. So I don't know, because there was no Donkey Kong. We had Pong when I was a kid. So anyway, but they're working on it. It's actually in process. I haven't been up there for a week because I've been, like I said, been gone on vacation, but, I know they're working. Even if it's behind the scenes, it's going to happen soon.
Yeah. And I know there's been some delays due to, rain and weather. So, I know there's a lot of excavation work that needs to happen up there before they can really get started. But yeah, that's underway. And I know we get asked this a lot, that intersection or traversing that area is going to stay open through the entirety of the project. So just keep that in mind. It will be open. Yes, it's going to be slow going. Yes, we are all going to be frustrated. Um, I know morning traffic in that area around school time is really difficult. So just bear with us and stay patient.
Right.
It's happening.
Remember, the
So let's go.
ends justify the means. You know, the end result is going to be so much better than it is now. So, and the
Yeah,
detours may be kind of creative, so be patient with them too. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but you may have to be. They may get a little creative in getting you around their work site. So,
yeah. Let's go clockwise then through city. Obviously, that area, we're seeing commercial stuff pop up all over the place. We don't need to get into that. But then North Park Road extension, the second phase of that is happening right now, as you probably know this if you're listening to this podcast.
right. And if and just on another one, in another area on my end of town, if you see the steel structure going up on the south side of Highway 6, that is a Dollar General. We're getting a Dollar General, and it's going vertical as we speak. So uh, I don't know when the end date for that is, but that's what that is.
Oh, that's a good update for me, Tim. I didn't realize they were going vertical yet, so that's great.
Yep, they've got steel up. And since it's my neighborhood, Deerview, the reason there's a fence up in the Deerview Park is we are constructing a bathroom there, a permanent bathroom. I know it's going to break your heart that we're getting rid of that porta potty, but we've decided to send that down the road and build an actual permanent structure there. So that's what's going on in Deerview.
That's great. Um, Coming back down over by my area, then obviously the rec center is happening. Man, I drove just yesterday. They're really coming a long way, particularly on the exterior now. And I think as you look at that building right now, the plastic that's everywhere, anywhere that there's plastic showing currently are windows. So clearly they'll put those in last for safety purposes. But coming a long ways. I still haven't even seen the inside of it. Um, but I know they're making great progress, and that's really fun to see come along.
Yep. And something that's a little less visible, but still going right along is the water plant. We get weekly updates from the city uh, manager. I'm sorry, Doug Bolt, and it looks like they're staying right on schedule. They're laying concrete and running electrical and plumbing and that. So it's exciting because to watch it. And it's actually going vertical in some areas. So that's work that's coming right along, kind of behind the scenes, but it's there.
Yeah, I actually was just over in that area. I'm trying to get back into shape, Tim. So I was running the other night, slow, albeit.
Good boy.
Um, yeah, it was really slow, but it happened. And I always say that the best way to see a city is to run it or walk it. And I love that because you get to see parts that aren't uh,
Yeah.
easily accessible by vehicle sometimes. So the water plant is one of those that is easier to see if you are walking or jogging on the trail. And yeah, I was really happy to run by there. Hadn't been over there for a few weeks or so, and um, yeah, the main area of where the new equipment will be is vertical, um, and they're moving right along. So that's great to see.
Yep.
The other one
And I
over
just,
by me here is Village Drive extension is now open, and appreciate everybody's patience to getting that open.
oh,
There
yeah.
there are obviously reasons. There are obviously reasons why things have to open when they open and things like that. So we got all the final checks done, and everybody signed off, and we're happy that that's open. Great addition, east and west on the south side of town. If you haven't seen it yet, uh, get a lovely morning view of the water tower. Um, and so that's great.
but it's a great connection up there. And I think it's going to pay dividends down the road
Yeah.
since we can
Couple
finally use
questions.
it.
Yeah, and one question that I have been getting quite a bit of, or I've seen online, there will be a traffic signal going in at the intersection of Village Drive, um, and, Roberts Ferry, right? That's Roberts Ferry.
Yes,
My memory's so bad
Ireland.
these days. So right there by Quickstar and Maverick, coming off the interstate, there will be a traffic signal there. I know that that's been a concern, and
Yep.
it is a little bit challenging, particularly making the left-hand turn coming from the Maverick area. So there is a traffic signal going in there.
Well, and we've been working on that for a while, Tim, but we got to work with the DOT and, work with their requirements. And then, we wanted to work with all the vendors involved there, all the developers to try to figure stuff out. So it's taken a little bit. It's a lot of moving parts, but I think we got it pretty well ironed out.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's great. I want to touch real quick too. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but it's been a topic of conversation in recent meetings. Is Highway 6 improvements coming next year? So throughout next year, we can see there's going to be a lot of work happening on Highway 6 between Roberts Ferry and Park Road. A lot of
Right.
planning has gone into that, and that will bring about some changes in terms of traffic signals, stop signs, things like that, in a couple of those really high traffic areas that we all know to be problems in terms of coming from Kroll on the Highway 6 um, and those sorts of things. So be on the lookout for
Right.
that next year. I think really excited about that piece.
Again, save up as much patience as you can for that project because I'm sure it's going to be somewhat disruptive. But again, the end result is it's going to make traffic flow so much better. And I know people are going, yeah, yeah, yeah. You always say that, but it's going to make traffic flow a lot easier going through town. And I guess it's a pain of growing the way we're growing, I should say. So just save up as much patience. I'm doing it right now because I'm one to go. Come on, go, go, go. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I just had a community member reach out to me, and we get them all the time regarding the intersection at Kroll and Highway 6. And I know it's particularly challenging right now with the detour off of Park. And so just know that is a ongoing topic in terms of how we can alleviate that in the interim. And so those conversations are very fluid and continue to happen. So if you're
yep.
listening to this, just know that that we hear you, we see what's happening there, and continue to try and do things to help alleviate some of those challenges.
Well, and if you
Holy,
have
holy
questions
for
about what's going on around town, please shoot us an email. Let us know. We can bring it out here because if you're wondering about it, somebody else is, and this is our way to get it out there to what's going on around Tiffin.
And in addition to that, there is a project section on the Tiffin website that we try to keep updated as best as possible. So if you're driving around town and you're like, what is this? What's happening here? What's the timeline on this? We're trying to do a better job of getting all that information out and making that easily accessible to everybody. So if you can't get a hold of one of us, you can always look on the website. But Tim, are there any bigger projects, other projects that we're leaving off of this list?
Oh, not that are actually being done now. I mean, we've talked about the indoor rifle or gun range up there on North Park. And everyone knows well, if you don't, we're getting a hotel and there's a sign up right off of Park Road showing kind of location of where that's going to end up. Um, oh, well, and as you can easily see, Homemakers is making great progress on their building, and they're way vertical. So they're anxious to get in here, so we're anxious to have them too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
one
one
other
last thing.
thing. Yeah.
I was just going to say, don't forget volleyball courts are complete. And I believe they're out there to be used by the public as well as they'll hopefully bring in some tournaments in town here. and bring some people into Tiffin.
That's a great reminder, Tim. And I'm surprised I forgot about it because I have a daughter who seemingly invites all of her friends to go play sand volleyball after school on Wednesday afternoons, and then we host them at our house. So I'm very familiar with sand volleyball and how much sand a group of young girls can track into your home when they're done playing.
Oh, it's a lot, trust me. But it wasn't them. It was somebody else.
Oh, for sure. Somebody else was sand all over the place. Definitely
Yeah.
in the
It
middle
wasn't
of
me. I
winter
don't know who did that, but it
or
wasn't
spring.
me.
But
Ask
yeah,
my
no,
wife.
that's a
I'm good
fun.
about that.
That's a really fun addition, and I know that there was some debate within the council, and uh, we had a community member that was really passionate about that and can provide some services to that. And
Yeah.
I drive by there quite a bit, of course, and it seems to be getting used quite a bit. So that's great.
Good. Good. That's what we built it for,
Yeah.
or had
The
it
other
built for.
thing, I guess, one other building sort of thing that we could mention, because it hasn't gotten a lot of uh, public talk, is emergency management within Johnson County is putting a building um,
Oh,
up
yeah. Yes,
there
they
off
are.
of Forever Green, right near Veritas Church. A lot of planning went into that to make sure that it blends well with uh, the the structures that are already there, Veritas and the indoor gun range, obviously all of the New
Yep.
Yorker buildings, boardwalk, all those things. A lot of time was taken to make sure that that looks good and fits in that area, but there is some advantages to having that building in town. Um, for us as a community, even though it's um, a county entity, but we do get some value out of that having it in town. So that'll be
Yep.
going vertical. I don't know what their dates are. There were some bidding challenges, but yeah, that's a good one too.
Well, Tim, I think we're at the end of our time. I see producer Ashley's giving me the eye, so I'm gonna have to either turn her video
Yeah,
off or run.
well, I think she knows that most of our listeners really just want to hear Brian Shay talk. So
Right, right.
so we should get to that. So yeah, so
But we
coming up
still want
next
to.
we will have go ahead, Tim.
No, no, no. No. You go right ahead. You sound so much better than I do.
Oh, that's not true, but I'll take it. But yeah, so coming up next we have Brian Shay talking about all things building department and what his job entails. But again, if you are listening to this and you want more information on projects around town, and maybe we've forgotten a thing or two, please utilize the tools that are out there, um, websites, social media. We try and post a lot there, updates and things that might be affecting you in terms of detours and things like that. So go find those informations. But when we come back here, we are going to roll right into Brian Shay. All right. Hey, we are back with our guest here on Tiffin Talk, city news plus real conversations for our residents. Very happy for our next guest to be joining us today. None other than building official Brian Shay.
Yay!
Thank you, Tim.
Welcome in, Brian. Welcome in, Brian. Hey, let's kick it off with this. I got to know, how many times have you been to the depot today already?
Only one.
Only one.
Only one. But I don't know why I catch so much flack for supporting our local businesses.
I don't think it's the fact of you supporting the local businesses. I think it's how much you support one local business, and not just like not from the standpoint of it's bad to support one local business, just the frequency with which you're in there. I just quite remarkable.
Brian, how long are you gonna let him dig the hole before you let him get out?
He's fine.
So if if you don't know Brian, Brian's the guy who's out of the office, what, 90% of your day, Brian?
It depends on the weather. But yeah, I
Uh-huh.
probably 50 to 75% of the time I'm in the field. I
Okay.
should be in
So
my office 75.
Brian's the guy who's out running around, checking out job sites, making sure that everybody's doing what they should be doing and following permits and all of that good stuff. Brian, how did you get into this field? This is a great question because I've always wondered this. Like how did you grow up into becoming a building official?
Um, well, I grew up, my first jobs were in construction. I did masonry work, did some framing, some landscaping, hardscapes, operated equipment. And that was kind of summers when I was in high school and then through college. Same thing. Just kind of work construction. Construction paid better than most other part-time jobs and allowed the flexibility that I needed. And I had an opportunity to go to work at the City of North Liberty in the Public Works Department. I worked for when I went to work in North Liberty, it was about 4,000 people, so about the same size as when I came to work for Tiffin 11 years later. But I started out doing, I worked in the wastewater plant, water plant, public works, plowed streets, and about 5 years into working City North Liberty, a building inspector position opened up, and I was not qualified for the position. So I did the next best thing, and I convinced the building official and the city manager to give me a shot. Um, they agreed to give me an interview. I took a semester off of college and kind of crammed as much building code knowledge as I possibly could to prepare myself for the interview and for the job. Um, I worked for the City North Liberty Building Department. I started off as a residential inspector, and then as I got more experience and more certifications, I kind of transitioned into more of a commercial inspection role. And then um, I had an opportunity. The previous mayor of Tiffin asked me to apply for the building inspector position. It was a contractor position, and I did. So I did City North Liberty and that contract position for about 3 years. At that time, it made sense for me to transition to full time at the city of Tiffin, and so I did that, and I came on board about 11 years ago as the building and zoning official. Um, so that's how I got here.
Well, and part of the reason I ask is I just feel like your role in particular, there's so much, you know, I tinker as an amateur builder, and there's just so much knowledge that needs to go into what you do. And I don't know that. I mean, obviously there's schooling and all of that for those sorts of roles and responsibilities, but I feel like just a lot of it has to be hands on.
Yeah, so I've been lucky enough that really the only way to get better at the job and to get and just is every day I come across something in the code that I'm like, oh man, I'm not exactly sure what that what that means or what that is. And so I don't think any good code official inspector memorizing the code is not really it's not helpful. I mean, obviously there's some stuff with decks and egress and life safety things that that I use every day, and so I could recite those code sections and those specific measurements or numbers. I have them memorized, but a lot of it is just knowing the code book. But for me, I'm lucky. I have a couple individuals in my department that are code experts that when it really gets into the technical stuff, um, they do some of that. I've probably with my three inspectors, 70 years of experience on top
Oh
of what I
wow.
have. So well, combined with what I have. So I think the experience helps, just kind of knowing the code, and really knowing, you know, obviously new things happen every day, but just having the experience of, oh, this project or this issue is similar um to the next one, with stuff that I deal with. But as far as like residential inspections and things like that, it is a lot of repetitiveness, and a lot of just, when you do, we issue between 300 and 400 permits a year, and I've been doing that for, in building codes, 15 years. And so it's just kind of the experience really, it helps guide, it helps guide me. At least gives me, something to go off of. And that combined, again, Nick Sitzman, my plans examiner and senior building inspector, he has 25 years experience. My fire marshal has, 20 plus years experience. So, I think we have a really good team, um, city of Tiffin, with a lot of experience, and, a lot of knowledge in building codes.
Hey, Brian, how do you keep updated on those when the new ones come around?
So we have, the state of Iowa puts on, we're part of an organization, IABO, um, Iowa Association of Building Officials, and they put on code update classes annually. And then
Okay.
every new code cycle, we spend some time in the office just updating ourselves on the code. Um, just familiarizing ourselves with the code updates. The building codes update every 3 years as long as you adopt them. Um, we are in the process of adopting the state 23 codes and the 2024 building codes. It does take some time. Usually, by the time a municipality adopts the most current code, it's been published for a year and a half. Um, and the reason that it is like that is because typically you let the state adopt it, work out all the issues, and then cities
Yeah.
follow suit. Um, so yeah, so we're continuously, doing code update classes. ICC, which is International Code Council, that, is the publisher of most of our code books. They have online, um, classes that you can take monthly, weekly, annually. We have to take so many continuing education out contact hours to, keep our certifications updated. So, there's a good program kind of nationwide that we use.
So while there's a lot to it then, isn't there, to keep up on and be current on the current codes.
Yes. Yep.
Good.
Brian,
Um,
describe describe your day to day. What's an average day for Brian look like?
Well, usually I first couple hours of the morning are typically administration. Depending on where we are staff wise, um, we have three inspectors: a construction inspector, plans examiner slash inspector, fire marshal, and then an admin. Um, if everybody's, working that day, I typically spend my first hour and a half, responding to emails, kind of checking office things off my list that came up the day prior, um, working on, anything that I might need for the city manager in regards to city council meetings, or myself for planning and zoning meetings. And then I kind of get into my schedule, um, do inspections the latter part of the morning, into the afternoon, and then, uh, so I'll be out in the field most of those times. Um, in my day, trying to resolve any issues that came up, kind of outside of what was scheduled. Nuisance complaints, anything that, city manager or mayor or city council, assistant city manager need for me to look at, and then just kind of get all my inspections input into our software system, inspection reports sent out, and then kind of that ends my day.
Okay, so I hear inspection. What actually happens during an inspection? Of whether I don't know if I want to do residential, commercial, or melt both individually.
So in a perfect world, a contractor will call for an inspection, and what that means is all the all the work is done. So say a residential home and they're calling for a rough-in inspection. That would be an inspection on the framing, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical. So basically the entire house. We do a rough-in inspection. Some communities call it a cover-up inspection. It's a pre insulation and drywall inspection. It's to make sure that um, at all of that the house meets code for everything we need to see before you drywall. So in a perfect world, um, we're going through. I myself was trained, and I think the best way is I do one. When I go into a home, I do one trade at a time. So I will walk through the house just looking for uh, framing and I'll do the entire house. I'll go through every room. I have a checklist, mentally that I go through, and I also have a physical, um, like a code checklist that I will use depending on the project. So I'll go through, the entire house one time, just looking for framing, and again each room looking for electrical, and then plumbing, and then mechanical. Um, and the reason I do it that way is so, it's easy. I get 50 phone calls a day and 50 text messages a day and emails, and it's easy to get distracted. And so if I'm in each area of um, each project multiple times, there's less likelihood that I'm going to miss something. And again, in a perfect inspection, the everything is done, and I'm just verifying that the work that has been completed is code compliant. That's what that's what I want to do. I'm smoke detectors are in the correct locations. Um, Outlets and switches are in correct locations. That the minimum number is there. That we have supply and return air sufficient in each area of each home. That they're separated. That the return air is separated is a code requirement 3 feet or more from a smoke detector. That guardrails are in place where they're supposed to be. If there's a window in a stair landing or adjacent to a door, that it has safety glass. Just that if I'm there, just verifying that the work that's done is done and it meets code. That's what we want. What we don't want, and what happens more than what I would like, is um, we are checking for to verify that subcontractors have been on site for general contractors. That's what we don't want to get into. We'll get called to do a
Hmm.
rough-in inspection, and the electrician has 2 days left before they're ready for us. But the general contractor, uses the city as a set of eyes and ears, rather than going on site and verifying that the project is ready for inspection. Um, so yeah, so and then on the commercial side, it's a little bit different. Obviously, the scale of the projects are larger. If we're doing a 5-story podium building, we're going to do probably one trade at a time. We may be doing 4 or 5 units at a time if it's a mixed use residential commercial building. Um, we may be doing one small 7,000 square foot build out for one, say for a restaurant, in a commercial building, and then the unit next door might be vacant. So on the commercial side, it's a little bit different. There are a lot more inspections. We're on site a lot more because the work is a little bit more detailed. Um, and I know, in my opinion, on the commercial side, it's easier because typically there is a structural engineer, a mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer, and an architect. And as long as you can read a set of plans, you can do the inspection, because in that situation, those are stamped plans. So my job as an inspector, as a code official, is to verify that the contractors built it to the design of the architect or the engineer. And so even though it's a lot more detailed and there's a lot more different types of construction, and um, it's not as conventional as what we would see. It's not as rinse and repeat as what we would see on the residential side. As long as as long as you have a good set of plans and you can read them, it's actually easier to do those inspections.
Another
Um,
follow up. Excuse me. How long will it take you to do, say, minimum and maximum inspect a house?
It depends on the size of the house and how detailed the house is. We have we have some houses that get built. Contractors build the same houses with, they might change the roof line, or they might do a covered porch instead of a screen porch instead of a deck. But the general layout and size of the home, and they use the same contractors that are local and familiar with the codes and know what we expect. Um, I could be in and out of a single family home that's, six, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, just under 2,000 square feet with a finished basement, and in 45 minutes. If everything, if what I'm doing, I'm just checking to make sure that everything's done and that it's done code compliant, um, in and out. If it's a larger custom home with some contractors that aren't familiar with our process, or how we like to see things, or uh, what codes are, how we enforce the code. It could be a couple hours. So it really depends on the engineered floor and roof truss packet. So two components of every residential home that are engineered are the floor system and the roof system. And some of those, your typical house where where the floor trusses are uh, clear span, so there's no intermediate bearing walls, so there's not a
Yeah.
lot of details we need to look for um, to make sure that loads are transferred, and that they're bearing in correct locations, and that we have um, any concentrated loads, that we have footings underneath the concrete floor, or the roof system, if it's just a clear span truss, not a bunch of hangers, or piggyback trusses or girder trusses. If it's simple, I can get through those engineered drawings in 5 to 10 minutes. If it's detailed, it may take a few hours. Um,
Sure.
Same goes for commercial. If we're looking at a 5-story mixed use building, it's going to take us most of a day for two inspectors to get through those engineered trusses. We're checking everyone. We're making sure that the bracing is in the correct location, that there's any load transfers, that make sure that there was no damaged lumber, that either in transportation, installation, or after the framing contractor leaves and the electrician or plumbing HVAC guys decide that they're going to cut a web of a truss that couldn't be modified. So really, it just depends on the house or the job. But typically, in our schedule, a rough in for residential, we will kind of set aside an hour to an hour and a half per house.
Okay. Wow. Wow. All I can say is detail, detail, detail. Man. Whew.
Brian, let's dive into some more fun stuff, probably mostly on the residential side. What are you seeing as the most common mistakes, DIY gone wrong sort of thing? Um, and how do we make those processes smoother?
So I think the biggest misconception is, if somebody that is not familiar with building codes or permitting in general, maybe they come from an area of the state or country where building codes are, there's not enforcement. But I think the biggest thing is just when somebody wants to take an unfinished area of say there's a room in their basement, or half of their basement's not finished, and they want to finish it. Um, And typically every each room uh even in an unfinished basement, there's one outlet, right? The contractor puts in an outlet, so that way when somebody does go to finish that room at a later date, all they need to do is tie into that outlet, extend, put add outlets around the room to become code compliant. Any wall over 2 feet requires a receptacle. Uh, there need to be no more than 12 feet between receptacles. No more than 6 feet from the end of a wall to your first receptacle. Uh, and those are convenience outlets, but the code requires them, and they do so that you're not using extension cords to plug in uh, uh, fans, extension cords to extend a phone charging outlet, because obviously you know, the, those can become trip hazards. A lot of times those cords, if you drag them in from your garage, they may be damaged, and so they're potentially you could have issues that way. Um, but the biggest one is just when if individuals do not get a permit to finish a room in their basement, they just go ahead. Sometimes they don't even insulate. They'll just put the drywall up and finish it. It's like, and then they might call a later date, or we may get a call. Normally, we find out that rooms and homes were finished without a permit when they go to sell. Realtors and home inspectors, it's pretty easy to to know if a project, something like finishing a basement or a room in a basement, had a permit. If you walk into a room and say it has a closet, there's no smoke detector and there's one outlet. That's a big red flag that the homeowner just went ahead, finished the basement, put drywall up, finished the drywall, put some carpet in there, and voila, it's a bedroom. Um, and they just either didn't know that they were going to need it, that they needed a permit to do that, because they just said, oh, well, the electric's done. There's a window. There's no plumbing. There's a supply on the wall for, or in the floor system for HVAC, so we can heat and cool the room. Um, the average homeowner doesn't know that you need a balanced HVAC system. So, you should have um, same square inches for if you have a 4x8 or a 4x6 supply for your HVAC, you need, you should have that same size return in each room. And if you don't have that return, you should at least have um, a pass through. So you would put an opening with a grill on both sides of a wall that would get you, so then you could pull return air from a larger family room that does have supply and return ducted to it. So that's the
Okay.
biggest one. Um, and I guess I think the biggest misconception, and I'm not exactly sure, other than just working with homeowners when they do apply for permits and try to give homeowners the best experience and that they can have, and make it as smooth transition and just be as helpful, is um, that I think the conception is that that the building department, or the building official, building inspectors, that we're just costing you money. You got to pay for this permit, and you're telling me what to do when I don't need this stuff. I don't want the outlets. I just want to. And the reality is sure, that might, in the short term, you might save a few dollars. When it comes to finishing a basement, a permit is typically not going to be more than a couple $100. It's barely going to cover the costs that we're going to have to that the city's going to incur to review the plans, to come out and do the 3, 4, 5 inspections that are needed. Um, but that's not the goal in that situation. The goal is to make sure that it's safe. The goal is to make sure that, work with homeowners to make sure that they understand what's needed and why. Um, if they're, and then the other is to make sure that the contractors that they hire are that they're getting what they pay for. Because at the end of the day, Tiffin, obviously we're big enough now that contractors in the area know that you need a permit. But maybe there's some contractors coming from Iowa County where the only permits you get, or you get an electrical permit, and the state of Iowa does that inspection, and that's it. That doesn't mean that you're not supposed to, as a trade professional, that you're not supposed to follow the
Oh
code.
shoot.
But sometimes they don't. So when say you get a general contractor and you hire them to finish your basement, um, they have already that contractor has already baked into the cost of the project permits and inspections and doing it code compliant. So if they don't do that, you're still paying them. Essentially, you're still paying for those permits, and you're just not getting what you pay for if they either don't get the permits or try to cut corners. So
Yeah.
I look at the building department for, especially for DIY, we're an asset. If if you're a homeowner and you want to tackle building your own deck, that's that's one of my favorite parts of my job is I'll sit down with you and go over, okay, this is the minimum deck choice. This is what, we can go through some pictures of past projects that I have on my computer or my phone. This is what you need to do. These are the types of materials you should use. If you get stuck, here's a list of, local contractors, or we can come out and do site inspections. That's one of my favorite parts of my job because obviously, I'm a I started off as a DIYer. I did plenty of um, remodel and construction projects myself, and I like to help people if they want to do it just for the pride of this is my home and I did this, or to if they wanted to or needed to save money. Okay, great. I just want to make sure that it's done right, that it's safe for you, and that in the future, I think the average homeowner now lives in their current home like less than 5 years, between 5 and 7 years. And so when you sell your house, most homeowners, as they should, have a home inspection. And so if you do something that doesn't meet code, eventually you're going to pay for it. And I'll tell you, it's a lot. It's a couple $100 to add an outlet, or maybe $100 per outlet to finish a room. So if you don't get a permit, you don't add the required electrical, you don't you don't cut in the HVAC, or extend the supply and return line. It's a few $100s when you're doing it the first time. Uh,
It,
if you get caught without a permit, or you have to add it because a home inspector flagged it, or a new homeowner knows the codes maybe better than you did, it's going to cost you thousands. So not only is it safer to get the permit and do it right the first time, but it's actually gonna, in the long run, it's gonna cost you less. And I
Um,
just would encourage. Go ahead. Just let me finish.
I
I would just encourage any
okay.
homeowners, if you think you need if you're going to do a project, just call us, and say, hey, I'm doing XYZ. Do I need a permit? Um, and I'll walk you through it, yes or no, and these are the reasons why. Um,
yeah,
I I think
I
that's
was,
Brian, I, I'll jump in here.
sorry, well,
I know when we first came to Tiffin, I had some questions, and my wife had some questions before we even bought our property. And Brian was easy. You were easy to work with, and I'm not just greasing your skis. And then my daughter bought a property here, and I had questions about fences and stuff, and you were quick to come down and help me out, and that it was very nice. I got to say, don't be afraid of this guy. He is easy to work with. I really do believe, and he's, as you can tell, he's got a lot of energy. So probably from
yeah,
all
I was
that
gonna,
product he gets from the depot.
yeah, I was gonna add as well. I think, Brian, you touched on so many good points there. I remember, uh, so my wife and I's first home out of college was up in Cedar Rapids, and we remodeled the whole thing top to bottom, and it was a 70s era home, and we touched every room. And I distinctly remember at that time in my life thinking, I want to be a DIYer. I feel like I know a little bit, but not much at all. And I remember I was always scared to call and talk about permit or talk to the building inspector because I felt like I didn't know what I was talking about. And if he's going to come out and inspect it, and I'm not going to know what he's talking about. And so that all scares me. I feel like whether it's you or Tiffin or whatever in general, I feel like um, you you do such a great job at you know just everything you said, helping people rather than it's not this gotcha. Uh, hey, you need to put outlets all on this wall. It's always with that attitude of let me help you figure this out. Let me tell you why you need to do it this way. Um, I think your deck building example is perfect because I think that's a common DIY project that most people like to take on, and the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen? The whole thing can fall down. Um, and so I don't know. I think that's just like just as a normal lays person. I think I know personally. I've always been like, uh, I don't feel like I know enough or whatever. So I think all the points that you made are just fantastic.
I think what I'm hearing is contrary to the common saying, you should ask permission before, or it's going to cost you a lot when you ask forgiveness, is what I'm hearing.
Well, yeah, it's not necessary when you say when you ask for forgiveness. Maybe this shouldn't be public, but it's not like we go around giving a bunch of. If somebody doesn't get a permit, there are communities not very far from us that if you start a project that requires a permit without a permit, automatically the permit fees double. And
Oh,
that's just
wow.
not really how we operate. We are not. I think that we're still a small enough community that we can deal with things like that in a different way.
Sure.
We have plenty of um, obviously a lot of city programs are not self-sufficient. They are there as a service. And building codes and zoning codes, we are here. It's a service. It's to make sure that we have a safe community that is built the way that constituents, city council, planning and zoning people, city council people, city staff want it to be.
Sure.
That being said, we're really busy. So we have plenty, at least for now, and hopefully for another number of years, the building codes will be self-support, will be self-sufficient. The fees that we collect, mostly on new construction, they cover the cost of all of our inspectors, kind of the entire department.
Yep.
Which obviously, as you grow bigger, it's not always like that because you have to add more staff. And obviously, our goal and the goal of building codes is not to generate revenue. It's to just cover. It's just so that if you're a contractor building a home, you're covering the cost of what it takes for the city, for city inspectors to the tools we need to do our job, the time that we need to do our job, and that the existing homeowners aren't paying for that on their tax roll. So that being said, we take in plenty of revenue because we have a lot of new construction to cover um, our costs that are associated with the building department. So when it comes to issuing fines for individuals doing work without a permit, that's not the goal. The goal is to make sure that so say somebody calls me and say, this is a typical call. Hey, um, this we didn't do this intentionally, but we finished our basement without a permit. We didn't know that we needed a permit. Now we're selling our house, and we have all these things that were flagged. And what do I do? I'm like, okay, well, in other communities, the first thing you do is we say, okay, well, you submit a permit before I'm going to talk to you. And we don't do that here. We say, okay, first thing we should do is probably do a visit. We'll do a site visit. We can go over exactly what you did and talk about what you need to do. If it's a home that was built in the last 15 years, chances are I do have a set of plans for your home. And even though if those plans might say unfinished basement, I'll bring your plans along when I come meet you at the house. We'll go over, okay, you need to add 4 outlets, you need to add a smoke detector, and we're not going to double your permit fees. We'll just charge you what it's going to cost you to do this. Um, and we will if it's to verify that if all the electrical, plumbing, HVAC, everything's done up to code, you just didn't get a permit, you'll just need to apply for the permit, we'll come out. I may have you open up 2 small spots, of drywall, or if I can get on the backside of a utility room where we don't need to do any cosmetic um, damage to verify. We'll test polarity for outlets. We'll make sure that smoke detectors are interconnected by testing them. We'll do things, the least invasive way possible. But at the end of the day, I have a responsibility to make sure that the project that you didn't get a permit for, that you are now at a later date getting a permit for, because you need to show that you did the proper channels before you sell a home, or just you didn't know, you legitimately didn't know you needed a permit, and so now you want to do the right thing. We want to make that it's less, that create a least amount of hardship as we can.
Okay,
but
Brian,
but at the same time, make it safe.
the expensive part I was talking was fixing what they did wrong, not that you were going to penalize them or anything. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying is when
it
you ask
probably costs four
forgiveness.
times as much to, it probably costs 4 times as much to, after you've completed the project, and it costs probably 4 times as much to make it right. If you are missing
Right.
outlets, if say there you finish a room in a basement as a bedroom, but it doesn't have a window. Okay. Well, to add a window is going to be significantly more later, or maybe
Yeah.
you could have said, okay, well, I do have a window in this area of my basement. Maybe I just move the bedroom over here, and this is the family room, because family
Right.
room or a laundry room or storage room does not require a window. So there's lots of things, and I think just um, overall, not just the city of Tiffin, but anywhere. I think most inspectors and code officials, um, we want to be helpful to our citizens, and obviously, I think, at least for me, um, we can be way more hands-on, and want to be with DIYers than, if you're a for-hire contractor, my expectation is you're going to bring a professional set of plans, and you're going to have a skill set to complete the project, not only meet the minimum code, but do a quality job. And the expectation is I shouldn't have to hold your hand to do that, and I don't want to.
Right.
And I'm going to hold you to a higher standard. But if you are a homeowner, a DIYer, you're a taxpayer citizen in the city of Tiffin, my job is to help you first and foremost. And so that's what we'll do. And we definitely handle homeowners and DIYers, a little bit different than we do professional contractors, because those professional contractors are profiting off of their work. So they should be skilled and do that and know how to do that work without having their hands held. So, if you go through our permit portal, which is available online, and you see, uh, we'll go back to a deck project. If a homeowner is doing it themselves, you, more than likely you're going to find a drawing that I did, because it's just easier. I'm going to call out, okay, 6x6 posts. This is, I have a generic, I'm not an artist, but this is how these are the brackets you used. You use 2x10s, you use H2 hurricane clips. This is how I'll add details that that we have saved from decks. This is how you secure it to the house. This is a nailing pattern. Or if the homeowner does it and all the information's there, it's a little bit more chicken scratch or unprofessional, and we'll accept that. If you hire a contractor, the permit that I expect from them is a professional scale drawing. Now they can do it themselves, but again, they're charging a premium to the homeowner to do the project, and so um, again, homeowners and contractors are treated a little bit differently. Whether that's 100% fair or not, I don't know, but I think it's just important that um, we are an asset to our community, um, to our citizens on one hand, but make sure that if you're here to do work professionally, that you're doing it the right way.
Well, Brian, I myself am a DIYer, and I'm glad you're here to keep me safe from myself. You know,
Tim, you might need a little
because
bit
I'm
more
sure
hand-holding
I'm.
than the average.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, I'm sure I did it right, but every time I plug it in, it shocks me. So something must be wrong, Ray. So I'm just kidding. I swear, I'm just
All
kidding.
right.
Don't come down to my house.
All
Okay.
right. We all like to talk, so we gotta get moving through this. Brian, lightning round. These are quick responses, okay? No long-winded answers here. Ready for this?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And we may have covered a couple of these in our earlier conversation, but here we go. Biggest don't do this.
Uh, don't do work without a permit. Uh, don't do work without a permit. If you don't know, give us a call. You can discreetly give us a call. I don't need to know your name, your address, your firstborn's name. If you just have a question, does this require a permit? Yes or no? I'll shoot you straight and go from there.
Okay.
Okay, I got
Crazy.
one.
Oh, you got one, Tim?
Yeah, I wanted to do the craziest inspection. Because you call me crazy, so I figured it'd fit right in. Brian, what's your craziest inspection that you can remember?
Craziest inspection is something that happened while I was on a inspection, but not actually something I inspected. I was inspecting a 24 unit 3-story building, and I was on the third story with with the general contractor, and an individual from OSHA showed up. And so I introduced myself, the general contractor introduced himself. They were talking about where their requirements that their OSHA requirements for some safety equipment, some paperwork for some hazardous materials on staff or on site, where that was. And they were talking about the job trailer. And as we're standing out looking out a patio door, and there's another building, the same contractor's building across the street, and they are just setting windows in this building. So I'm with the general contractor, myself, and an OSHA inspector. And we watched, out of a third story window, we watched an individual jump out of the window, out 5 feet, into a construction basket, grab a roll of tape or something out of that basket, and jump back into the window without a harness. They
Ooh.
probably made a 4 foot jump, and we were all just dumbfounded. The OSHA, this is flip phone, so this isn't even like an iPhone. The OSHA inspector, as soon as he jumped out the window into the basket, he knew that he had to jump back into the out of the basket into the back into the building. He pulled his phone out faster than a police officer could draw their gun in an emergency situation, and videoed the guy. And he just laughed as hard as he could and was like, "I'm gonna show this at my next OSHA convention because nobody would believe that I actually got this on video."
Oh, that's
Oh,
good.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's
That is a
that's
good one.
pretty crazy.
All right. Biggest number one tip for homeowners. Only one. You only get
Uh,
one hot tip. That's it.
One hot tip for homeowners. Um, this is zoning, not building. If you have issues, talk to your neighbors.
Mm.
I know that sometimes those are
Oh,
hard
exactly.
conversations to have, but if you're willing to have a conversation with your neighbor, uh, 95% of the time, issues are going to be resolved easier. Again, you have to live next to them for however long you guys are neighbors. So that's kind of an important relationship, and most of the time, neighbors don't know that they're doing something wrong. That their dog is pooping in your yard, that you're going to put a fence up, that you're going to you're going to be doing some yard work, uh that your mower is broken and that's why your grass hasn't been mowed in 3 weeks. Obviously, if you have a negative experience, as a zoning administrator, sure, I can get involved, but usually there's going to be some heartache that you called the city first and didn't just talk to them. So
Right.
I think that's, to me, that's always the starting point. And I always say, when somebody calls me with a complaint, have you tried to address this complaint personally. I know that can be a hard conversation, and I'm not trying to just completely not be involved, even though I really don't. That's my least favorite part of my job is dealing with citizen complaints or issues and neighbor issues, just because usually there's a lot more involved than just the thing that I'm looking at. So that's kind of the number one thing is
That's such that's such great. That's a great tip. It's an amazing tip. All right, next one. I want a one-word answer. You don't even have to elaborate. What's harder, deck versus a basement?
the deck.
Really?
A
Wow,
deck
that's not the
because
answer I was expecting.
Yeah, I was going to
deck
say you're going to
because
get more than word
everybody thinks
answer.
that everybody thinks they can build a deck, right? Nobody's scared of
Mm,
that. They'll run to Lowe's, they'll run to uh and so it's not just obviously finishing a basement it's technically it's harder. But for me, I don't see as many issues because if you have no idea, you're not tackling electrical yourself, right? Obviously, there's a lot more that
Yeah.
goes into it. So, I mean, as far as, I'll go out, somebody will call for a final inspection on a deck, and that thing's done. They've spent the $5,000 on all the material, and if you did it
Hmm.
wrong, you're tearing that thing completely apart.
Oh,
Where in a basement, if you wired an outlet wrong, that's pretty easy to fix. You hire somebody who knows what they're doing, and then they fix it. So yeah, obviously, technically, it's harder, and you need more skill to finish a basement. But a deck is create decks and outside things create a lot more problems for me than basement finishes do. Because 90% of the work's done. The framing's there, the HVAC is already there. There's at least one outlet. If it's going to be a bedroom, there's a smoke detector there already. There's a three-way switch. Current building codes require you to finish even unfinished areas to such uh, a level of completeness that it's really easy to finish the job. You're ultimately and you're finishing a basement. You're adding some outlets, and you're doing drywall and finish work that doesn't really you know if you do a bad job at drywall, it's a bad job at drywall. I'm not going to penalize you for it.
all right. Well, the last thing we have here is, and we've already touched on it, is ask first or ask forgiveness. And it's pretty well, I think you've already heard that Brian's very workable with the public. So, yeah, ask first. I can answer this one. Ask first. Don't ask forgiveness.
Yeah, we're
Because,
an asset for homeowners.
yes,
So
right.
ask first. It's cheaper, and we've seen we've seen it all. I mean, we've seen most things, and so we can be an asset. If you have problems, we can help fix those. So I think
Good.
we're definitely more of an asset than obviously we're not. I don't think we're a liability, but we're not creating hardship. We're trying to help you um, any
You're
way we
not the
can.
building police, is what you're saying. Ooh, I shouldn't even use that term, but, you know, you're the enforcer. That's the word. We've all heard that word. So,
All right, Brian, we got to wrap this thing up. We're getting short on time. But overall, what's exciting you right now in the city?
Um, what's exciting for me right now is that we're really starting to transition from a bedroom community into we're getting a lot more commerce. We're getting a lot more places to eat. We're getting entertainment. We have pin seekers. We have a couple new restaurants that are getting ready to open. We're getting ready to break ground on a hotel. Um, there's some things coming down the pipeline that we can't really disclose, but that are pretty exciting. I mean, obviously, it's nice to. I love the small town feel that we have, and I think the goal is to try to create that within the neighborhoods, but at the same time to not have to go outside of our city limits to grab a bite to eat, to have a drink, to do some mini bowling or play golf or We're on the other side of that is with this growth now. We're starting to get the commercial tax revenue that, we're gonna have a rec center. We're gonna be able to provide a lot more services that in the past our citizens have had to drive to our neighboring communities to see and do. So that's what we're kind of transitioning. We're growing up. Obviously, there's growing pains with that, but I'm just excited. As a member, not only as an employee, but as a member of this community, just all the opportunities that we're starting to see, and we're starting to get a lot more. We're getting businesses and types of buildings that you see in communities that are 18 to 20,000, and we're 8,000. And I think it's because I think it's because of the work that administration and city council does to try to attract these businesses and in these types of things. And it's obviously our location also. We're on 80 and 380, and so we're gonna, we're attractive to a lot more than just just where people want to lay their head at night. So I'm excited for us to transition into that type of community where we have uh, it seems like every month we have something new to offer our citizens, and I think that's great.
All right,
Give us a
Brian.
seasonal.
Tim, you got something else?
I was just going to say, real quick, give us a seasonal reminder. We made Brian Dietert do this. We're going to make you. What during this season? What's the big issue that we need to watch out for? Or
The biggest issue: mow your grass, and when you're in the right of way, the area between the sidewalk and the street, make sure that your mower is blowing the grass back towards your property and not out onto the street. If it does go out onto the street, make sure you blow it back after you're done.
Okay. Perfect
Way to end it. Something simple. If you can't remember that, I don't know how we can help. But Brian, thanks so much for being here. I love watching you do what you do. And it's great to hear you break everything down for us and help everybody understand that you're a really nice guy that just wants to help. So
exactly. You're an asset. You're an asset to them, not just to us as well, to the city as well, but to them. You use Brian to help yourself, or his department anyway. But hey, thank you for being with us, Brian. You've been very informational.
And since we're recording this first thing in the morning, get back to work, would ya?
Yeah. You just been sitting there for the last 40 minutes.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thank you for coming,
Appreciate
Brian.
it, Brian. All right. Well, hey, what a great interview from Brian Shay, don't you think, Tim?
Oh, that was fantastic. A lot of good information that really is helpful to me because I'm a DIYer. And if I'm not even that, I can watch what the contractors do and make sure I don't have to call Brian. and God, what a sweet guy. Everybody is that I've talked to is kind of a little timid about him, scared of him. It's like, this guy's, God, he's nice as can be. So yeah, don't be afraid of him. He's reach out to him if you get a chance.
Well, and plus he's got to be what, about 120 pounds soaking wet. I mean, how can you be scared of Brian Shay?
I mean, he's 120 if he's holding a concrete block, I think. So, but remember, Tim, TNT comes in small packages, right?
Oh my goodness, that's good. And if you've never met Brian Shay and you want to see him, just hang on to Depot a little bit throughout the day. You'll be able to meet him at some point in time. He's in and out of there quite a bit, refilling his coffee. We touched about it. I love the fact that he's supporting our local entities, but I have told him, I said, you couldn't just make a pot of coffee in the morning and just put it in a thermos. Might save you a little bit, but he wants to support the business. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you, Brian Shay, for joining us. Tim, I think that I think that pretty much wraps it up for today, don't you think?
That's it. We gave the highlights. We gave Brian gave everybody a lot of great information, And now it's probably time for us to, salute and sign off.
I agree. So thank you, Tiffin. Appreciate the listening. Again, apologize for the delay between episodes 3 and 4. We will try and be better, but obviously we can't make any promises because our schedules just are so jam-packed. But anyway, thank you for joining us again. As always, please find information out on all of the different websites and social media and wherever you listen to your podcast. You can be enjoyed and digested. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Please come back and listen again.